Why would a Jungkook, global icon, symbol of post-military discipline, and the gravitational center of the K-pop industry, choose to open his year not with an official statement, not with a music teaser, nor with a meaningful Instagram post, but with a single brief, almost silent appearance at Incheon International Airport that immediately pointed to one of the most sensitive words on the map of the global entertainment industry? America? The question sounds simple, even nearly banal, until the public realizes that not a single step Jungkook takes has ever truly been simple, especially when the context involves momentum, timing, and a location loaded with symbolic meaning. The beginning of the year has always been the most honest phase for reading the direction of a major artist. It is at this point that small choices turn into strategic signals, and seemingly casual movements carry an extraordinarily heavy narrative weight. Jungkook, who had just completed his military service and returned to the public orbit with a status bordering on mythological, did not choose to stay quiet in Korea, as many had expected. He was not seen spending the early days of the year in family reunions exposed by the media, nor did he begin image-safe domestic activities. Instead, he appeared at an international airport at a time and in a situation captured only briefly, yet enough to trigger a storm of speculation across time zones. The roughly 12-second video that first circulated on X showed Jungkook dressed in a long black t-shirt, a black mask, and a cap, retrieving a gray backpack from the conveyor belt in the baggage claim area. He stood beneath the number for sign, with the cold, functional glow of airport information screens in the background. There was no smile, no exaggerated gesture, no dialogue that could be interpreted. And yet, therein lies the paradox. It was precisely the absence of expression that led the global public to read far too much into it, that a post by the account at 7pskook with the emotional caption "Jungkook at Incheon Airport going to America. Have a safe flight Jungkook, we love you," became the first spark. Within hours, the post surpassed tens of thousands of views, drew hundreds of interactions, and triggered a domino effect characteristic of the social media era. One short video turned into a long narrative, one physical location turned into an arena of collective interpretation. Although the video technically showed Jungkook in an arrivals area, a detail that should have dampened speculation, it was precisely there that the complexity began. Was this footage of a departure taken from an ambiguous angle? Had he just arrived from a prior secret trip? Or was this part of a movement deliberately left unclarified to remain in a gray zone? These questions did not emerge in a vacuum. In the BTS fandom ecosystem, every detail carries history, and every location holds precedent. America, in Jungkook's context, is not merely a tourist destination. America is where Golden was born as a global solo project, where cross-industry collaborations occurred without lengthy announcements, and where Jungkook repeatedly proved that he could move as an independent entity without shedding the shadow of BTS. Thus, when the word America surfaced again, especially at the beginning of the year, the public no longer asked where he was going, but what was being prepared. Speculation then grew at an almost uncontrollable speed. Several other accounts on X explicitly stated that Jungkook was seen in the departure area heading to the United States, accompanied by additional photos that strengthened the assumption. The narrative shifted from simply seen at the airport to heading to America. This is where the logic of the entertainment industry began to operate. Cross-country travel at the start of the year is rarely spontaneous, especially for an artist with security and management as tight as Jungkook's. Every departure is usually mapped out far in advance, whether for music recording, label meetings, collaboration discussions, or even long-term strategic planning. Yet, precisely because there was no official confirmation from HYBE, the space for speculation grew even wider. Was this a secret music project that would reshape the 2026 landscape? Was it merely a post-military vacation deliberately kept private? Or, the more sensitive question, was this a sign that Jungkook would once again center much of his activity in the Western market sooner than expected? Each possibility carried different emotional implications for ARMY, and not all of them felt comfortable. Fan reactions split in a way that reflected the tensions of the era. On one side, hashtags like #WelcomeBackJungkook and #JungkookIsComingBack dominated timelines, as if this departure symbolized a revival rather than a separation. There was relief, enthusiasm, even pride in seeing Jungkook move again. alive once more within the global rhythm after the constraints of military service. On the other side, loud voices emerged questioning the ethics of spreading the photos and videos. Accusations that the visual material came from Saesiang sparked heated debates about the line between support and invasion of privacy. Comments such as, "Can you respect his privacy?" and "People who are sharing airport photos of Jungkook are the same worse as the people who took it," were not merely momentary emotional outbursts. They reflected a collective trauma within the fandom that was still fresh, especially after the incident at Jungkook's residence just days earlier, when a Saesiang was reported to have attempted to approach him. In that context, Jungkook's appearance at the airport was no longer just travel news, but a symbol of vulnerability. The airport, which should have been a safe transitional space, became an open stage full of risk. Reports of mobbing also surfaced, with claims that Jungkook was surrounded at the airport. For some fans, this was a danger alarm, reminding them how fragile the boundary is between public access and personal safety. "Please give Jungkook some space," wrote one army, as if pleading not only with fellow fans, but with the entire digital ecosystem that so often forgets that behind the global icon is an individual who has just returned from serving his country. At this point, the initial question resurfaced with far greater weight. Why an American airport, and why now? Was Jungkook running towards something, or stepping away from pressure that had grown increasingly suffocating? Was this a strategic move long in the making, or a spontaneous response to a situation that no longer felt safe at home? There are no definitive answers, and perhaps none are meant to exist. But one thing is clear: Jungkook's choice at the beginning of this year is far too loaded with meaning to be dismissed as coincidence. In this narrative, the airport is not merely a physical location. It is a metaphorical crossroads, a place where the past and the future meet without ceremony. And Jungkook, standing beneath the number 4 sign, carrying a gray backpack without a prominent logo, appears like someone fully aware that every step he takes will be read, debated, and remembered. The silence from HYB only thickens the layer of mystery, as if the industry itself has chosen to let the public sink deeper into speculation. Thus, the beginning of 2026 was opened not with a grand announcement, but with a brief scene that contained more questions than answers. An airport, a single word, America, and a Jungkook who once again proves that even in silence, he is capable of shaking the center of global attention. And if this is only the beginning, then whatever is truly being prepared behind this departure may be far greater, and far more emotional, than anyone dares to imagine. In the Korean entertainment industry, trips to America are rarely casual, especially for an artist of Jungkook's caliber. Every visa, every layer of security, every flight schedule is usually curated so carefully that nothing leaks. Yet this time, the leak occurred at the rawest level. A phone camera, shaky angles, and a fandom narrative racing faster than any clarification. The question then shifted. Was this an unintentional leak, or a leak that was deliberately allowed? Some fandom analysts began reading a pattern that felt familiar. When Jungkook worked on his previous solo projects, his early appearances were often similarly messy. Spotted at airports, caught on camera at American studios, then disappearing from the radar before eventually returning with fully realized work. This pattern creates an illusion of spontaneity, even though behind it lies a highly controlled structure. If that is the case, then Jungkook's appearance in Incheon this time may not be a system failure at all, but part of an unwritten narrative intentionally released to gauge public reaction. However, reading everything as strategy also feels too cold, almost cynical, when placed beside the emotional context surrounding it. The incident at Jungkook's home just days earlier remains fresh in fans' memories. When a Saesiang was reported to have attempted to approach him, the sense of safety that should have returned after military service was suddenly fractured. Within that framework, America can be read as a temporary refuge, a place where geographical distance offers the illusion of protection, where the Western entertainment industry's security systems feel more rigid, and where Jungkook can breathe without being chased by lenses that get too close. This is where the narrative begins to split emotionally. For some army, the idea that Jungkook left because of pressure is painful. They want to believe this is a productive journey, not an escape. They want to see Jungkook as a choosing subject, not a forced object. Yet for others, there is deep empathy in the possibility that Jungkook simply needs distance. That after years of being a national symbol, a global icon, and a target of obsession, he has earned the right to choose a safe space, even if that means leaving Korea for a while. Social media both complicates and enriches these interpretations. Every new upload, every additional cropped photo, every anonymous account claiming to have seen Jungkook at the departure gate becomes fuel for discussion. Some connect it to Jimin's movements, who was also seen traveling not long afterward, constructing theories about internal post-military coordination within BTS. Others go further, speculating about group recordings, meetings with American producers, or even major discussions about a new phase of BTS in the global market. Yet beneath all these theories, one thing is rarely discussed honestly: exhaustion. Jungkook returned to the public eye carrying expectations that are nearly impossible to meet. He is not merely expected to come back, but to return at a level higher than before. Every movement is weighed as a symbol of BTS's future, HYB's future, even the future of K-pop itself. In that context, the airport is no longer just a transit point, but the starting line of a new pressure that is no less heavy. The controversy surrounding the spread of airport photos and videos became the clearest reflection of this dilemma. As fans admonish one another, accuse one another, and remind each other about privacy, it becomes evident that the fandom itself is negotiating its boundaries. Support turns into surveillance, concern turns into control, and Jungkook, once again, stands at the center of the vortex without a voice. The harsh criticism of sharing airport content shows that many ARMY are growing tired of the same cycle: appearance, crowding, anxiety, and collective apologies that arrive too late. Didn't you guys learn what happened in the last 2 days? One user wrote, directly referencing the incident at Jungkook's home. That sentence is not merely a rebuke, but an acknowledgement that there is a wound that has not healed, and that every new photo risks tearing it open again. HYB, through all of this, has chosen silence. This corporate quiet can be read in many ways. As protection, keeping Jungkook's journey from becoming excessive public consumption. As a communication strategy, withholding information to avoid escalating the situation. Or, for the more skeptical, as a way to let buzz grow organically without official intervention. Whatever the interpretation, HYB's silence only gives rumors more room to breathe, to grow wilder. And rumors, in Jungkook's world, rarely die on their own. They attach themselves to larger narratives already in place. Jungkook as a global artist gradually transcending the traditional boundaries of K-pop, BTS standing at a historical crossroads, and an industry that continues to test how far an idol can go while remaining human. America, once again, becomes the symbol of all this, a projection screen onto which the public throws its hopes, fears, and imagination. Interestingly, amid all the noise, Jungkook himself remains the quietest figure. There is no clarifying post, no brief message to ease concern, no sign to hold on to beyond the same fragments of visual evidence. This silence can feel agonizing, yet it is also consistent with Jungkook's character, someone who often lets his work speak louder than words. Thus, this chapter offers no definitive answers, only a deeper paradox. Is Jungkook heading to America as a strategic move to redefine his position at the start of a new year? Or is he simply seeking a safe space to reassemble himself after an emotional storm unseen by the public? Or is it possible that both are true at the same time? What is certain is that this journey has reopened a larger discussion about the cost of fame, about how a 12-second video can turn into a global narrative, about how an airport, one of the most mundane public spaces, can become an arena of conflict between love and obsession, and about how Jungkook, in all his silence, continues to force the world to ask questions, not only about where he is going, but about what we have done that makes his departure feel so profoundly loaded with meaning. It has transformed into a vast mirror reflecting the tension between a public figure and a private human being, between global expectations and personal needs, between fandom love and the threats born from that very love. Jungkook's departure, or at least the appearance pointing toward America, is no longer about where he is going, but about what he is protecting. The beginning of the year should have been a phase of recovery. After completing military service, the public imagined Jungkook returning with a slower rhythm, more guarded, more human. Yet reality showed the opposite, even before he truly began. The spotlight had already latched back on with its former intensity. Incheon Airport became a brutal symbol of that fact. No matter how brief the moment, no matter how neutral the gesture, Jungkook could not pass through without leaving behind a trail of commotion. It is precisely here that his silence takes on a new meaning. Jungkook does not deny. He does not confirm. He does not soothe. In a world that demands instant responses, this stance feels almost radical. As if he is saying that not every movement must be explained, not every rumor deserves an answer. And that stance, for some fans, feels both mature and painful, because his silence opens space for unspoken anxiety. America, in this final chapter, appears not as a physical destination, but as a metaphor for distance. Distance from home, distance from recent trauma, distance from a spotlight that has grown too close. Perhaps Jungkook went to work. Perhaps to rest. Perhaps for both. But what is certain is that this choice marks something important. Jungkook is now in a phase of his career where he dares to choose his own space, even if that choice creates collective unease. Army, as a tightly bound emotional entity, responds in ways that are equally contradictory. There are prayers for safety, pride, and hopes for new work. But there is also fear of loss, as if every departure carries the possibility of a more permanent distance. It is this tension that makes the story feel so alive, so fragile, and so deeply human. HYB may remain silent for a while. Jungkook may disappear from the radar for weeks or months. But one thing has already happened and cannot be undone. The beginning of 2026 has been opened with a massive question mark. A question mark not answered with words, but with footsteps in an airport. And perhaps that is precisely where his greatest statement lies. That Jungkook is no longer merely following the current of expectation, but beginning to set his own rhythm. That behind the global icon who always appears strong, there is a human being choosing silence as a form of protection. And that this journey to America, whatever its purpose, has changed the way we will read every one of his movements going forward. Because after all the speculation fades, one question will continue to hang in the air. If a single brief appearance alone can shake the world, what will happen when Jungkook truly returns, not only as an idol but as himself?